Emily Carter is in her small Brooklyn apartment, surrounded by dozens of photographs spread across a worn wooden table. The afternoon light comes through the window, illuminating her focused face as she organizes images from her most recent project. At 29 years old, Emily has built a modest career as a freelance photographer, but this work is different. It's personal. For the past 3 months, she has been documenting the everyday life of the city, capturing spontaneous moments of strangers in their daily routines. She picks up a photograph taken at Union Square 2 weeks ago. A gray-haired man feeds pigeons near the Washington statue. Emily smiles, remembering the composition of that image. The light was perfect. But then something catches her attention. In the left corner of the photo, slightly out of focus, there's another man. He's standing near a flower stand, looking at the horizon. Something about him seems familiar. Emily searches through the other photographs. Her fingers tremble slightly when she finds another image, this one taken at the Highline Park 3 weeks ago. There he is again, the same brown coat, the same slightly hunched posture. This time, he's sitting on a bench, holding what appears to be a notebook. How did she not notice this before? The photographer spends the next 2 hours meticulously examining each image from the project. When she finishes, there are 7 separate photographs on the table. 7 different days, 7 different locations, the same man in all of them, always in the background, always seeming to be lost in thought. Prospect Park, Brooklyn Bridge, Chelsea Market, the Strand bookstore. Each location meant something to Emily. They were places where she felt inexplicably connected, places she visited when she needed to think. The next morning, Emily can't concentrate on anything but the mystery of the man in the photographs. She quickly dismisses the obvious explanations. He's not a stalker. In none of the photos is he looking at her or appearing to follow her movements. It doesn't seem to be mere statistical coincidence in a city of 8 million inhabitants. There's something deeper happening here, something she can't name but feels in her stomach. She decides she needs to find him. Emily prints the best photo where his face is visible and begins revisiting the locations where she photographed him, always at the same times the original photos were taken. It's a desperate attempt, she knows, but she can't think of another approach. Maybe he has a routine. Maybe she can intercept him. For 5 days, Emily finds nothing. She spends hours sitting on park benches, circling the same blocks, going in and out of cafes. Some moments are productive. She takes good photographs, talks with some interesting locals, but the mysterious man doesn't appear. Emily begins to question her own sanity. Maybe she imagined it all. Maybe they're different men and she just wants to see a pattern where none exists. On the 6th day, Emily is at the Strand bookstore, pretending to examine the photography section, but actually watching the entrance. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, exactly the time she photographed him there 3 months ago. She's about to give up when she sees him, the same brown coat, the same melancholic expression. He enters the bookstore and heads directly to the history section, moving with the familiarity of someone who knows the place well. Emily's heart races. She watches for a few minutes as he leafs through books about New York in the 1990s, his fingers passing over the pages with reverent care. Finally, she takes a deep breath and approaches. "Excuse me," she says, her voice coming out higher than intended. The man turns, revealing tired but kind eyes. "I know this is going to sound strange, but I need to show you something." Emily extends the printed photographs. The man looks at them, confused at first, then his eyes widen. He takes the images with trembling hands, examining each one in detail. His face progressively pales. "Where did you take these photos?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "When?" "Over the past 3 months. I'm a photographer. I was doing a personal project. You appear in several of them, always in the background. I needed to know, why are you in all these places? Are you following me?" The man shakes his head vigorously. "No,
My God, I can't believe this." He looks at Emily with an intensity that makes her take a step back. "These places, all these places. My name is Richard Hale, and I know these places because I've spent the last 26 years visiting them. All of them were important to my sister." "Your sister?" Emily repeats, confused. Richard gestures to a nearby table. "Do you have a few minutes? I need to tell you a story, and then I'd very much like to ask you some questions." They sit down, and Richard takes a worn wallet from the inside pocket of his coat. From inside it, he carefully removes an old photograph, the edges yellowed by time. The image shows a young woman, maybe in her early 20s, holding a small child. Both are smiling at the camera on a sunny day in what appears to be Prospect Park. "This is Margaret, my sister," Richard begins, his voice loaded with emotion. "And this is her daughter, Emma. This photo was taken in April 1994. 2 months later, Margaret disappeared."
Richard looks at the photograph in his hands as if it were the most precious thing in the world. Emily can see tears forming in the corners of his eyes as he begins to speak, his voice breaking occasionally. "Margaret was 6 years younger than me. She was always the bright child in the family, intelligent, creative, full of life. But when she was 22, she met Daniel Crawford at a party. He was charming, successful, said all the right things. My parents loved him immediately. I had my reservations, but I kept my mouth shut. Who was I to judge?" Richard pauses, his fingers gripping the edge of the table. "They got married quickly, in less than a year. Soon after, Margaret got pregnant. At first, everything seemed fine, but slowly I noticed changes in her. She stopped coming to family lunches. When she showed up, she was always covered up, long sleeves in summer, sunglasses on cloudy days. She left the job she loved at the public library. She said Daniel thought it was better for her to stay home with the baby." Emily listens in silence, a feeling of discomfort growing in her chest. She knows this story, has heard versions of it countless times, read about it in books, seen it in movies. But coming from Richard, with his raw and real pain, the story takes on a different weight. "I tried to talk to her," Richard continues, "but she denied everything, said I was imagining things, that Daniel was a good husband, a good father. Years passed, little Emma grew up, and Margaret became a shadow of the person she used to be. In 1994, she finally admitted to me what was happening. The physical assaults, the psychological threats, the total control over every aspect of her life. She said she was afraid, but even more afraid that Daniel would hurt Emma if she tried to leave." Richard stops speaking for a moment, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. Emily instinctively reaches out and touches his arm, a gesture of comfort. He offers a weak smile of gratitude. "We made a plan together. I would help Margaret escape. We'd get new documentation for her and Emma, take them somewhere Daniel could never find them. I arranged money, contacts, a safe place where they could stay temporarily. We set it for June 15th, 1994. I would wait for them in front of the library where she used to work at 2 in the afternoon." Richard's voice becomes even more tense. "They never showed up. I waited 4 hours. I called the house. No one answered. I went there. The door was locked, the curtains closed, no sign of life. I went to the police, but they couldn't do anything. Margaret was an adult. She had the right to leave if she wanted. Daniel claimed she had left him, taken their daughter and left without saying where. He seemed genuinely confused and hurt. For a moment, even I believed him." "But you don't believe it anymore," Emily says softly. "No, never again after the first week.
Margaret and I were very close. She would never have simply disappeared without telling me where she was going, without leaving some kind of message, and never ever would she have failed to contact me for so long. Something happened that day. Something terrible. Richard takes another document from his pocket, a handwritten list, the paper thin from being folded and unfolded so many times. These are all the places in New York that meant something to Margaret. Places where we worked together, where she took Emma to play, where she said she felt happy. For the last 26 years, I've been visiting these places regularly. At first, searching for her, hoping to catch a glimpse. Then, when the years passed and hope began to fade, visiting them as a way to keep her alive in my memory, as a way to not give up completely. Emily looks at the list. Her stomach tightens. Union Square, Highline Park, Prospect Park, Brooklyn Bridge, Chelsea Market, the Strand Bookstore. All the places where she photographed Richard. All the places she herself visits regularly. The places where she feels inexplicably at home. "I don't understand," mummers Emily, her mind racing. "Can I ask you some personal questions?" Emily nods, still stunned by the impossible coincidence. "Did you grow up in New York?" I don't know. I mean, I grew up in the foster system. I was found when I was about 4 years old, wandering alone in Battery Park. No one ever claimed me. I had no identification, couldn't say my name or where I came from. The social workers said I probably suffered some trauma that blocked my memories. They gave me the name Emily Carter and placed me in foster homes." Richard's face turns white as paper. "When exactly were you found?" "June 23rd, 1994. I know the exact date because it's on all my documents." Richard drops the photograph he was holding. It floats down to the table between them. "My God," he whispers, 8 days after Margaret and Emma disappeared." Emily feels the world spinning around her. "Are you suggesting that... Do you have any photos of yourself as a child, from when you were found?" With trembling hands, Emily picks up her phone and navigates to a folder she rarely opens, scanned images of the few documents she has from her childhood.
Emily passes the phone to Richard with trembling fingers. On the screen is a faded photograph taken by social services when she was found in 1994. A small, frightened girl with disheveled dark hair and wide eyes, hugging a worn stuffed rabbit. She's wearing a light blue dress with dirt stains, and on her right wrist, a delicate bracelet. Richard takes the phone, bringing it close to his eyes. He zooms in on the image, focusing on the bracelet. His breathing becomes irregular. "No, it can't be. This is..." "What?" Emily asks, feeling a tightness in her chest. Richard zooms in even more on the photo of the bracelet, then quickly grabs the old photograph of Margaret and Emma that's on the table. He points to the child's wrist in the image. Emily leans forward, struggling to see the details in the worn photograph. "This bracelet," Richard says, his voice barely above a whisper, "was made by my grandmother in 1942. It's unique, sterling silver with a specific pattern of intertwined oak leaves. She gave it to my mother, who passed it to Margaret when she turned 18. And Margaret," his voice fails, "Margaret put this bracelet on Emma on her 3rd birthday. I was there. I took this photo." Emily feels as if the ground has disappeared beneath her feet. She looks again at the photograph on her phone, at the bracelet on the frightened child's wrist, then at the old image, at the same bracelet on the wrist of a happy child. "It's the same bracelet," she whispers. "It's exactly the same." Richard covers his face with his hands. His shoulders tremble as he tries to control his emotions. When he finally looks up, there are tears streaming down his face. "Emma," he says, his voice breaking. "Emma, I've been searching for you for 26 years. 26 years!" Emily can't process what she's hearing. It's not possible. There are too many coincidences, too specific.
And yet, the evidence is before her. The bracelet, the dates, the places. Everything fits in an impossible and perfect way. I don't remember anything," Emily finally manages to say. "Nothing before that day at Battery Park. The doctors said it was trauma, that my brain blocked the memories to protect me, but I never knew what I was being protected from." Richard takes a deep breath, trying to compose himself. "We need to be sure. We need definitive proof before we accept this as truth. DNA test, maybe? Medical records? Something concrete?" "Yes," Emily agrees quickly, clinging to rationality like an anchor. "Yes, we need to be sure. But Richard," she hesitates, "even if I am Emma, what happened? Where is Margaret? Why was I alone at Battery Park? And how did no one make the connection before?" "The system was overloaded in 1994, Richard explains, his voice taking on a more stable tone now that there's a plan of action. "There were thousands of missing children cases, and I was looking for a Margaret Hale and her daughter Emma Hale, but you were registered as unidentified. No name, no family. There was no DNA in databases then like there is today. And physically, well," he looks carefully at Emily, "you changed. All children change. Your hair was lighter as a child. Your eyes looked different. If I had seen this photo in 1994, I probably wouldn't have made the immediate connection. But the bracelet doesn't change." Emily feels a wave of conflicting emotions. Anger at being deprived of her identity for so long, confusion because she still can't access any memory from that time, fear of what she might discover about what happened to Margaret, and, surprisingly, a spark of hope, the possibility of finally belonging to some family, of having a history that is hers. "The places," Emily says suddenly. "You said you visited the places important to Margaret, but I'm also drawn to them. I always have been, even without knowing why. I return to those parks, those streets. It's as if some part of me remembered. Muscle memory, perhaps, or something deeper. The brain is mysterious. It can block conscious memories but still retain emotional impressions. Maybe you feel safe in those places because once you were happy there, with your mother." Emily closes her eyes, trying to force any fragment of memory. There's something at the edge of her consciousness, a sensation of gentle hands, a soft voice singing, the smell of flowers in summer. But when she tries to focus, the images dissolve like smoke. "Tell me about her," Emily asks, opening her eyes. "About Margaret, not about the disappearance or what happened after, about who she was before all this. I deserve to know that." Richard smiles for the first time since they sat down, a sad but genuine smile. "She loved books. She worked at the library not for money, the pay was terrible, but because she loved being surrounded by stories. She said each book was a door to another life, and she loved photography too. She had an old camera our father gave her and she took pictures of everything, mostly of you, of Emma. She must have thousands of pictures of you." Emily feels tears burning in her eyes. "I'm a photographer," she whispers. "I never knew why. I just always felt it was what I should do. She took you to Prospect Park every week. There was a specific place near the lake where you fed the ducks, and she sang to you, always the same songs. Somewhere Over the Rainbow was her favorite." The words hit Emily like lightning. Suddenly she's humming the melody, the words emerging from somewhere deep in her memory. She knows this song, always has, and suddenly there's a flash, brief but unmistakable. Hands holding hers, a voice singing, the reflection of light on water. "I remember," she whispers, tears now flowing freely. "I remember her singing."
In the following days, Emily and Richard become inseparable. They meet at cafes, exchange countless messages, share every piece of information they possess. Richard brings boxes full of documents he's kept for decades, police reports, personal notes, photographs, newspaper articles about the case. Emily contributes her own scarce records, adoption documents, medical reports, the few photos she has from her childhood. They schedule a DNA test at a private clinic, but the results will take a few weeks. Meanwhile, Richard contacts a private investigator who helped him years ago, explaining the new developments. The investigator, a man named Frank Morrison, agrees to reopen the case. There were things that didn't make sense in 1994, Frank explains during their first meeting, spreading old documents across his office table. Daniel Crawford claimed Margaret left him, but the joint bank account was never touched. None of her personal belongings were taken, including that family bracelet we now know was with the child. And their car was found abandoned near Battery Park 3 days after the disappearance. Battery Park, Emily repeats, feeling a chill. That's where I was found. Frank nods gravely. Exactly. At the time, the police investigated, but without a body, without clear evidence of a crime, and with Daniel consistently maintaining that Margaret had left voluntarily, the case eventually went cold. Daniel died in 2003 of a heart attack, so we can't question him now. But we can search for Margaret, Richard says with determination. If she's still alive, she deserves to know that Emma is safe, and Emily deserves to know what really happened. Emily begins attending therapy, working with a specialist in trauma and memory recovery. Slowly, painfully, fragments begin to emerge. They're not complete or linear memories, but sensory flashes, emotional impressions. She remembers being afraid, of loud voices, fights, of gentle hands hiding her somewhere dark, of a voice whispering, "Stay quiet, my love, stay quiet," of waiting, alone, hungry and scared, not knowing whether she should leave or stay, of finally, after what seemed like days, venturing out and wandering through confusing streets until kind people found her. "You were hidden," the therapist suggests gently. "Someone hid you and told you to wait, but that person never came back for you." "Margaret," Emily whispers, "she hid me. She was protecting me from something, or from someone." The therapy is exhausting but revealing. Emily begins to understand that her attraction to photography isn't accidental. It's a connection to the mother she lost. Her favorite places in the city aren't random choices. They're the last vestiges of a life that was torn from her. Even her inability to maintain long-term relationships, something that always bothered her, makes sense now. She learned very early that the people you love can disappear without warning. 3 weeks after the test, Richard and Emily meet again at the Strand bookstore, the place where it all began. Richard holds a white envelope, his hands trembling slightly. Emily is beside him, her heart beating so loudly she's sure he can hear it. "Regardless of what it says," Emily says softly, "I want you to know that these past weeks have changed my life. For the first time, I feel like I belong to some story greater than myself. So thank you for not giving up, for continuing to search even when it seemed hopeless." Richard smiles, tears already forming in his eyes. "You're so much like her," he says, "not just physically, your kindness, your empathy. She would be so proud of the person you've become despite everything." He opens the envelope. His hands tremble as he unfolds the document. Emily watches his face, trying to read his expression. And then she sees it. Relief, joy, sadness, all mixed in a single devastating moment. 99.9% probability of uncle-niece relationship, he reads, his voice choked. "Emma, you are Emma." They embrace right there among the bookshelves, two strangers who are no longer strangers, a family reunited by an impossible coincidence that wasn't a coincidence at all. Emily cries for the lost memories, for the mother she never consciously knew, for the stolen years, but also for being found finally, after being lost for so long. In the following months, Emily and Richard worked together to reconstruct Margaret's story.
The investigator uncovers new details, witnesses who saw Margaret with Emma near Battery Park on the day of the disappearance, hospital records documenting injuries consistent with abuse, hidden notes Margaret had left describing her fears. The story that emerges is tragic but clear. Margaret was fleeing from Daniel on the day scheduled to meet Richard. Something went wrong. Perhaps Daniel discovered it. Perhaps he confronted her. In panic, Margaret hid Emma in a storage boat near Battery Park, promising to return. But she never returned. What exactly happened to Margaret remains a mystery, but there are enough indications for authorities to reopen the case as a possible homicide. Emily never recovers all her memories, but learns to accept that the woman she became was shaped as much by the experiences she doesn't remember as by those she does. She begins a new photography project, documenting stories of people who were separated from their families and found them again. The photos are powerful, raw, honest. Richard becomes the family Emily never had. They have dinner together weekly, share stories, visit the sacred places that connect them both to Margaret. He fills the empty spaces in Emily's story, telling countless anecdotes about the sister he loved and the niece he never stopped searching for. On a warm summer afternoon, 1 year after that fateful meeting at the Strand bookstore, Emily and Richard are at Prospect Park, near the lake where Margaret used to take Emma to feed the ducks. Emily takes photographs while Richard watches, a peaceful smile on his face. "Do you think she knows?" Emily suddenly asks, lowering the camera. "Wherever she is, do you think Margaret knows we found each other?" Richard considers the question for a long moment. "I like to think so. I like to think that somehow she orchestrated all of this, that she guided us to those same places repeatedly until we finally made the connection, that her love was strong enough to overcome time, distance, even death." Emily nods, feeling the truth in his words. It's not scientific, not rational, but after everything they've lived through, she's learned that some connections defy logical explanation. Some stories are too big for chance. Some people are destined to meet, no matter how long it takes. She raises the camera again, capturing Richard feeding the ducks, the sunlight creating golden patterns on the water. And for a brief moment, she swears she can feel gentle hands over hers, guiding the lens, helping her find the perfect angle, a soft voice whispering in her ear, "You found your way back. You're home." Emily smiles through her tears and continues photographing, documenting this moment, this connection, this impossible family that shouldn't exist, but does. Because some things are not coincidence. Some things are simply love, persisting through time and tragedy, always finding a way back home.